This is Trevor. I have changed my title from philosopher artist to polymath. Today I want to talk about an example of what people mean when they say that neurodivergent people have communication differences. A concept I personally like to call neurotype friction, because I find it the most effective for description and advocacy purposes. I have spent some time this week thinking about why the communication strategies that I've employed throughout my life to try to be understood have backfired spectacularly. And I don't know if I figured it out, but I have some things I want to say about it to help in the process, because I did find doing the first Harmon-E-Poch videos extremely helpful in advancing that concept. And in a future video this week, I hope to talk about, just for a preview, I thought, gosh, it's hard being an anti-capitalist because people don't want to be anti-anything, but how can you be pro something when there is no alternative to capitalism? And that's why people tell you that you have to live in it. So I spent some time thinking about what an alternative to capitalism will be, and I don't have a blueprint, but I have like a box to start with or something. I don't know, a metaphor. Anyway, I want to get back to my discussion of neurotype friction, which I hope to talk about in a way today that is both, I suppose, a lesson and a apology. First, to explain my communication strategy, I need to discuss my cognitive strategy, how I experience my cognition. I've had to think a lot about it, and by a lot about it, I mean, the last 5 minutes, but it took me 41 years to get to be able to have that 5 minutes. So anyway, words are imprecise, which makes thinking in words less precise than thinking without words. And so I have a better understanding of things when I process them without words, and primarily I think through emotion. Emotion may not seem like a processing system capable of handling the complexities of the human experience, but are words capable of doing it? I don't think so. So why would emotions necessarily be any worse? Or, worse. They would definitely be different, but why would they necessarily be worse? And so to me, I have wanted so desperately to be understood that I, from childhood, would write stories and to make art voraciously. And I took art, and I, despite what everyone else was pressuring me to do, went to graduate school for creative writing in English, to learn to communicate that way, because I felt like I was understanding myself and was being understood. I never was understood, I don't think, that way very well. But I tried it. Law school wasn't necessarily about being understood, but it has given me communication tools that I've employed, and I've tried reasoning, but reasoning that is specifically designed to elicit not only a rational thought, but an emotion and that emotion that I've tried to create is the emotions that I feel when other people act on me. So I say things and do things, it's not always direct, but they're calculated to simulate my emotion so that the other person knows what I'm feeling, so they can understand me. That has been my entire thought. And people will say things like, it never hurts to say how you feel. You should always tell people how you're feeling. You can never be wrong by expressing your feelings. So I thought, let me express them by having other people experience them. And that's like the point of art. So now I'm painting to try to do the same thing. And I, specifically would paint a picture and either text an image of it or text a video of me painting it and the actions that I went through to paint it to the person, to let them know how I was feeling, because I thought that was the clearest way to be understood, and that was what I should do, because that is how to make yourself known. Here's the problem. And I think I thought of how to put it in words based on something that one of my therapists in my first IOP from a few years ago talked about, and that is I think it's CBT model, where you, in order to change your negative mood, you have a positive thought, and you then have a positive emotion because of that positive thought. And that seemed both impossible and illogical to me, and I didn't know how to implement the skill, because that is not the order that I experience cognition. My thoughts stem from my emotions and unlinguistic process, and there was no way to generate a positive thought in language without first having a positive emotion. So the skill was useless and backwards, and it was harmful that he was telling me that this would help, and that if I couldn't do it, I was wrong. I was the problem, because this works for everyone. Sorry, I'm trying. I'm going to do my best. Several things to, number one, not become emotional in a way that other people can't tolerate, although that's really hard for me, because my emotions are right at the top, and more so now that I am further in unmasking. I find myself watching sitcoms with the corner of my eye that I've seen dozens of times, and laughing out loud, so loud my neighbors can probably hear me, and crying back and forth, and I'm fine. That's just how I am. That's how I am. And I'm tired of people telling me that if I do that, it's unhealthy for me. It may make them feel uncomfortable. I get that they have that experience. But do not tell me that it is unhealthy for me to have that experience just because you don't understand it. In any case, I'm getting off the point, because this is an apology and a lesson. The thing I want to say is I have thought about it a lot, and the consistent responses that I get to this communication process, no matter what method I use or how sophisticated I get at it, because the responses are getting worse and worse and worse the better I get at it. And the more I understand what I'm doing and try to do it, like, it's worse, because there's a factor that I didn't know. And this demonstrates also the why Harmon-E-Poch is an ongoing process, and how it works, and why some of the tenets are important. Because I believe it's the third tenet that I mentioned, is that things can affect you that you don't understand, and so you have to treat them as real. But it is challenging to treat things as real that you don't understand, because how do you hold cognitive space for something that you don't know what it is, or if it's there for sure? What size should you hold? How much capacity you need? What effects should you anticipate? That's difficult. I get that. It's easier when someone is telling you this thing that you don't understand exists, and you're trying to respond it doesn't exist, because they're at least giving you this shape and size and effects and things like that you need to hold space for, so you could then do it if you wanted. This is a concept I didn't know about. I'd been told about it, but I didn't understand what it meant or how it would implement in interpersonal interactions. You hear about a concept of the self. A relatively stable, I should say, stable's not the right word, durable's not the right word, because it can change and evolve, I think, and modify, but it is strong and vital to a person. And I didn't understand it because I didn't have that. At least, my sense of self was not that I was a good person. And I think that the the part of the sense of self that other people experience that they're a good person is so powerfully necessary for them to maintain, that it doesn't matter the collateral damage to maintenance of it. Because they can't process that, I think, because it's that powerful when you attack it. And the things that I was saying I was feeling, they couldn't understand, and so didn't realize that they needed to make space for them, perhaps. And again, I say this, this is about every conversation I've ever had, and it's also not, because I've had many positive interactions with people, and I think people are amazing and creative, and they surprise me all the time in amazing ways. And I mostly can't stand to interact with them because of the way that it feels when I do. And so, but when you tell someone that the way that you're treating me, which you perceive as the good, purest way to treat me, is affecting me in a way that when I communicate the emotion to you, you cannot hold both things at the same time, that you've created that emotion in a person and your stable identity as a good person. And so then I've gotten various responses to that. They're mostly not super cool for me to deal with. But I get it now, I think. And that I've accepted that. I've accepted a couple of things. One, that I haven't ever met a person who can understand who I am well enough to make me feel safe. Maybe I will. I've calculated the odds of doing so at approximately 10 in 100,000. The odds that a mental health professional I would interact with has treated a person similar to me at approximately 3%. So I've calculated that I probably have met somewhere between 20 and 25,000 people in my life, which may seem low, but I don't care to be around people that much, so it's probably lower than average. So maybe in another 120 years, I'll meet some folks. I don't know. In any case, yeah. Then they can't make room for the thing that they don't understand. The shape and size and everything of it is attacking them and their sense of being a good person. And I didn't mean to do that. I didn't know that was there. I suppose I have started to form one for myself this week, and that feels nice. So I guess I get how, if you've had that your whole life and it's really strong, that you would want to keep it. And I say I didn't mean to do that because I don't think any of the people I've interacted with are bad people. Some of them are better than others, obviously, perhaps. Some of them have taken advantage of me in ways that I don't really appreciate. I think that's allism and capitalism and humanity. That's okay. But I intend to try to change my communication style in two ways. One, to talk more about my experience and other people's experience as opposed to reality and fact. And two, I have opened a platform for education on who I am, I suppose. But, that sounds like something no one would want to pay to join. And it's not particularly cheap. I'm a valuable commodity. The things I know and the ways that I know them are valuable, and other people could make significant contributions in different fields by knowing them. And I am happy to share anything I know on any topic. I have added, I think it let me add 10 subject areas to the site. It Those are suggestions for things that I am an expert in. There are many more that I could have added, and I didn't know that I was limited, and I didn't go back and revise them to add maybe more important ones later. But so ask and see, what do I know? How do I get there? So the bottom line is that I am sorry. I didn't realize what I was doing. And the way that I understand it now makes me feel very badly for having done it. But I am also compassionate with myself for having done it, because I deeply understand why. I hope people can accept it. More soon.